All right, what's up, you guys? I am back with another one of my favorite people, my favorite students, Kevin O'Keefe out of San Diego, California. You could argue the fact it's the best place in the country, maybe the best place in the world. And Kevin, you get to live there every day, you lucky, lucky dog. So thanks for being here today, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So, I think we were just talking off air a little bit about kind of your journey in you and I working together, and I just want to tell people that story, man, because I think it's really cool to where you came from to what you're doing now. Because I think a lot of people it'll speak to them, because so many people in the real estate industry struggle with consistency and instant gratification, and you lived it. You know what I mean? And now you're reaping the benefit of that. And so let's just jump right into it. How long have you been in the real estate industry?
I've been in the business for about 5 years now.
Awesome.
So, and most of that was part-time. So, I had another job up until last year, and, really now I'm full-time. So 5 years total though, overall.
Cool. So the story that I want to tell people is, because that they're going to be able to watch, is part-time agent that had issues with, and I say this with respect, as you know, you and I have a relationship, with shiny object syndrome, right? All over the place, to the point where you've put 2 back-to-back 6-figure income years, and next year going to go for $250,000 in income. And we're going to share with people how that all happened. Is that fair?
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the old Kevin that was distracted, shiny objects, lack of consistency, which is what so many other real estate agents fall victim to. Walk people through, what were some of those struggles like?
Yeah. So up until last year, like I said, I was part-time, and until I got into your coaching, I didn't really have any direction I was going with my business. I would come in, or not even come into the office. I would work from home, make a few calls, and then, look for other things that would distract me from prospecting. So really I was distracted by every shiny object there was, just like a lot of agents. And, once I joined the FSBO domination program, I realized that I needed to make a change, or else I'm just going to continue in the path that I was on, which was a part-time agent closing a few deals a year, not getting the income that I wanted. So once I realized I had to make a change, I got serious about doing the work that I know that I need to do, instead of looking for distractions. And then really that's what took me to the next level, was when I started just putting in the work, knowing that I'm not going to see an immediate result, and just having faith that I'm going to see the results eventually. They're just going to come over time. So
that's awesome. Well, and so you're right. I mean, every agent that I talk to, for the most part, will tell me and tell everybody else that they struggle with doing the work consistently, day in and day out, because unfortunately we're in a business and an industry where you don't get to see the result of the work you put in today or tomorrow. It doesn't manifest for months down the road. And so let's talk through that. You went from what you just said, lack of consistency, to now where you're at today, to you've got your own private office and you're consistent as hell. You're in the office with suit and tie, ready to go every single day. Walk people through how that happened. Like, what was the transformation? How did you go from these 2 big, massive, extreme transformation?
Yeah. So last year, when I started taking everything really seriously to the next level, I had a really big month from FSBOs. I had about a $80,000 GCI month. And it was that point where I decided to dive into it full time and quit my part-time job. And by doing that, I needed a lot of accountability. And that's where you played a huge role in that. Is you had me prospecting every morning from 8 to 12 nonstop. And I had to stream it on a private Facebook group between you and I. So I had to do it every day, and if I didn't, I had to pay you basically. So it really started with accountability. I think that's huge, and just because of those few months of accountability that I had with you, it carried over, and I still to this day I prospect every day at the same time. I go to the gym every morning before work at the same time. I just stick to my schedule, and there's no negotiating with it now. So now it just happens. It's kind of an automatic thing I don't have to think about, and that's really what took me from where I was at to where I'm at today.
Awesome. So, couple things. So, would you agree that now, if for some weird reason you don't follow that routine, that you feel bad, you feel guilty, you feel like almost sick?
Yeah, I feel terrible at the end of the day. If I didn't make my prospecting calls for the day, which it rarely happens, but sometimes stuff does come up, I feel like I didn't work that day.
Yep.
And I feel terrible. I almost can't sleep at night.
Yep, that's exactly right. And so that's amazing. So what would you say was the length of time that it took you to get to that point where you felt bad if you didn't do your job? Like, was it a couple month process? Like, how long would you say till you really were dialed in?
Yeah, it was probably, I'd say 2 to 3 months in of doing it every day. It definitely took some time, and just waking up and going through the pain of prospecting, which was at the time was extremely painful for me because I had never done it consistently like that. But once you get used to it, it gets easier and easier, and then, until it becomes a habit.
And
so 3 months.
Got it. Okay. So what's interesting is that most people feel very uncomfortable in direct prospecting because they're calling strangers, they're calling people that aren't expecting their calls. Just like you were very, very uncomfortable doing that. You had said something to me on a phone call a couple of weeks back where the comfort level you have now with direct prospecting. Talk about your comfort level now that you've been doing this for so long.
Yeah, so now it's just, I don't even have to think about my scripts anymore. I jump on the phone. I know, what time I need to be on the phone. I get on the dialer, I just hit start, and it's just part of my day now. I can sit back almost and do it now without worrying and stressing about what I'm going to say. And it comes over time, but that's how it is now. It's easy, and I just know I have to do it. It's a non-negotiable.
Do you think anybody could do that? Like, you didn't come into this industry as this major sales guy with huge outgoing personality, like none of that, right? Like, you were who you were. Do you think anybody can transition? Because I think what happens, Kevin, is there's a lot of agents who are like, dude, I can never get to that point. I can never do that. Or do you feel like most people can actually get to the point to do that?
Yeah, I think if I can do it, I think anybody could, because I'm an introvert. I don't want to be out talking to people, and I don't like getting on the phone every day, but once you do it, the more and more you do it, the more and more comfortable you're going to get. And I think, anyone can do it if they just put the work in.
Yeah, and now making calls probably isn't uncomfortable for you at all. Like, doing this video makes you uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, so I'm way more comfortable making calls than doing videos like this. So yep. It's just it's easy now. It just takes some time to get there.
Oh, I love it. All right, cool. So now I want to walk people through like the work that you put in. Like, when I talk to agents, I always reference to you, just so you know, behind your back. I'm like, you could never keep up with Kevin O'Keefe. And so kudos to you for putting in the work. But let's talk about that work, because we met and I had you start learning for Sale by Owners. And as you started working with me on a one-on-one basis, I said something to you. I said, once I teach you, Kevin, my favorite lead source, which is not for Sale by Owners, for people watching this, they'd probably be shocked to hear that. You probably won't, once you learn this lead source, you probably won't want to call another lead source again. And when I make that promise to most agents, they don't believe me. But that's held true for you. So what is now your number one pillar in your business?
Yeah, my number one pillar is absentee owners. And there's a few reasons that I like to call them. There's not too many other agents doing it. And the quality of leads, they take longer to convert, but the quality of leads are just awesome. So it's a little bit more of a longer play than for sale by owners. But if you can build a good pipeline of absentee owners, it's awesome.
So that's so like me, man, the absentee owner lead, that whole entire strategy is my favorite based on what you just said. And you can build this massive database of all these property owners who want to sell their rental properties because they're sick of being a landlord. And so now walk people through an average day for you. Like, how many contacts are you making roughly every day?
So my goal each day is to get 50 contacts. There are some days if I don't have anything going on, I'll get 100. It just varies. So my minimum though, and going into next year, my goal for next year is a minimum of 50 a day, no exceptions.
5 days a week?
Yeah. So 250 a month comes out to about 1,000. 250 a week, 1,000 a month roughly. So those are my goals. And I know if I do that, I'm going to have a big business next year.
That's huge. So 12,000 contacts over 2020, correct?
Right.
So 50 contacts a day. I mean, I'm struggling to get agents to do 50 contacts in a month, and you could do it in one day. This has everything to do with what you were talking about: discipline, focus, routine, habits, building all those things out. How long does it usually take you to get 50 contacts?
It usually between 2 and 3 hours.
That's
Just
awesome.
depends on how the pickup rate is that day. I use the Mojo triple dialer, so calling 3 lines at once, and that just saves a ton of time. I average usually about 20 contacts an hour using that.
That's huge, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're calling right now, again, mostly absentee owners. You got some other things sprinkled in there, but mostly absentee owners. Is that right?
Yeah, mostly absentees, along with some other lead sources. I'll be expanding a little bit more next year too on some things.
Cool. So let's talk about next year. So you put together another 6-figure year, right? Sitting in your office, you're not shoveling coal, you're not building bricks. You're sitting there in a suit and tie in an air conditioning office, calling people, making 6 figures in this business. What's your goal for next year, 2020?
Yeah, my goal next year is 25 closings, and in my market, that should give me around 300,000 GCI.
Awesome. So that's huge, man. So what advice would you give people? I want to talk about that for a second, because you watch interviews like this that have inspired you over the past couple of years, just like I have, right? We've all watched these real estate agent interviews that some are like, man, that was so good. What type of advice or inspiration would you give agents out there that have a tough time getting going and prospecting and feeling so uncomfortable? Give some people some words of advice that will help them.
Yeah, I would say you just have to put the work in, and you have to trust that you're going to see the results eventually. I went for years of just making calls here and there and not consistently. And I would expect instant results, and that was the reason that I never saw any, was because I would make calls and I would expect to get a listing right away, when in reality it's going to take a lot longer than that, and a lot more. You have to be consistent at it. So you just have to have kind of blind faith, I guess. Put the work in every day, and as long as you put the work in, whether you're getting the results right away or not, you just have to trust the process that eventually you're going to get a ton of business from it, as long as you just do the hard work every day that you don't want to do.
So that's great. Thank you. I mean, would you agree? I think about this all the time, Kevin. Would you say that that thing you were just saying about consistency is the number one thing that agents need to understand? I call it pipeline maturity, meaning this. I'm going to try to draw this little chart. Can you see that okay?
Yeah.
All right. So what happens is agents try to make contacts, and the first contact in a sales funnel, and they want to get paid from that one activity or that one contact. And until they understand, to go from contact one to listing signed, virtually impossible. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And what they have to understand is the process that you've gone through over the last year, which is contact one is just generating the lead. Then they go into your pipeline and your follow-up system. Then you have a meeting, and then you keep pushing them down this funnel till finally they spit out listings. That's the process that you're talking about of the consistency. And if you only call once in a while, you'll never be able to experience the compound effect, the accumulation effect, all these different things people talk about. Would you agree that that's probably the number one thing that agents don't experience, or they don't understand it until you actually go through it?
Yeah, 100%. And I basically kind of reset my business almost when I went full time and just sat in my office, made calls all day. And I went 6 months with hardly anything. And now all of a sudden I'm getting, a few listings a month. So it just takes time. And you, like I said, you have to have faith that it's all gonna compound eventually, and you're gonna start to see the results. It just takes time. It's not instant.
Yep. It's kind of like working out. You know what I mean? It's like that whole thing around working out where you don't notice anything for a while, and then you'll see somebody like, wow, are you losing weight? You're like, wow, somebody noticed. And as soon as you get that one win, right, that first listing from a contact, you're like, oh, wow, this actually does work. Then you can get some evidence to start, keep the wheel moving forward and stay consistent, right?
Yep, I agree.
Cool. All right, awesome. Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I know you don't love this, and so I really appreciate you doing it. I'm really looking forward to watching you have an awesome 2020. And I'd like to do another one of these with you in December of 2020 to where you're multiple six-figure earner in this industry. And how big do you think this can get for you? Do you have aspirations of bringing on a full-time assistant, and kind of like walk me through a long-term vision really quick, and we'll end with that.
Yeah. So if I hit my goal or get close to it next year, I'm going to need to bring on an assistant pretty soon after that. And, from there, maybe bring on buyer's agent. I don't really know yet. I'm taking it 1 year at a time. So right now I'm focused on my goal for next year. And bringing an assistant on is definitely something in my future. I think that'll free up a lot of my time to prospect more and not deal with the busy work. And then, the good thing about this business is there's really no ceiling. So I think I have some big things coming up in the next few years.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love the focus that you have, like one thing at a time. So many people get caught up in the excitement of, oh, I got this big old vision. It's like, well, let's just start with this first. So awesome job, man. Really, really, I truly, when I say I am proud to be in your life, I really mean that. You and I have spent a lot of time together over the last year or two, and to watch where you've come from to where you're at now, it is almost like a brand new person, like it's really, really cool. You've got a lot of exciting things happening in your personal life and in your business, and I'm excited to be part of it and watch you grow. So thanks a lot for doing this.
Yeah, and I really couldn't have done it without your coaching. And just for anyone that's watching this, it's totally worth it to jump into the FSBO Domination program. You're gonna learn so much in it. I owe it all to that. That's what got me started, and I can't say enough good things about it. So
awesome, Kevin. I appreciate that, man. Well, best of luck to you. Happy holidays, you and your family, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, Kev.